I think the town needs another session of Zoom refreshers.
Well, I just need better internet connectivity. That's it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're on mute, John.
Okay, so it's saying we're on YouTube and it's saying we're live, so I'm going to get this thing going before anything goes worse for me. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I went to try to sign in on YouTube and then I was gone. All right. So, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Economic Development Committee will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement attending this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time by technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite the best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right, so now I'm going to call Friday, October 23rd EDC meeting to order at 9:09. And again, sorry for all the little snafus going on there. So real quick, got the call. The first thing on the agenda is the village mixed use update. I'll let Julie talk about that, but real quick, I don't want to go too deep into this because we just got it yesterday. I think it's a great start. I want to have a meeting. I think my personal opinion is we should have a meeting next week where we can really, when everybody has time to dig into it and have their questions and comments together for that meeting, and then we can get them off to Judy. But that's my opinion. I will defer to Julie and Claire on this one on timing and such. So, Julie?
Sure, and I'll be quick because I want to let Claire weigh in too, because I know Claire has a hard stop soon. But, you know, Judy sent this over very late, wee hours of Wednesday morning, and I took a look at it, and I shared it with Claire and with Lisa, and then I shared it with everybody else on this committee. And I know that yesterday Mark was sending it out to all the boards and committees, and we're giving we're saying, you know, we're asking for comments on November 6th, if possible. But if there are any boards or committees that for whatever reason can't meet before then, you know, we're happy to extend it a few days. If everyone can provide comments by November 6th, then we're trying to hold a follow-up joint meeting with BOS, Planning Board, SHOPC, anyone else who wants to participate. We're tentatively looking at November 10th, but subject to change, and you know, everyone's availability. So that keeps us right on our timeline, which I think is a really good thing. Judy will participate in that meeting. Any comments that we do make, I also attached the comment matrix. Judy doesn't want handwritten notes just because it gets to be too much. So she wants everyone to put their comments on that matrix. There are a couple little things like the use of the defined term business village district. We need to just make that consistent. That's one thing that popped out at me. I don't have a lot of other comments. You know, I think there are going to be some points of discussion as far as just, you know, the things that we always knew would be points of discussion. What is the setback? What is the height restriction? What are the, you know, maximum square footages before another level of approval from planning board is required? So, but there's not even that much of that. So I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys have to say, but also what you know, planning board in specific will have to say about that kind of stuff. But I think we're in a good place. I've been speaking with Lisa. She's really supportive. She thinks that the Board of Selectmen are going to be, you know, very supportive in pushing this forward. So I think we're in as good a position as we've ever been to get something actually done on this. hopefully even for Springtown meeting, if we stay on this timeline. So I'm very optimistic right now. And I agree, I'd like to dive into this, whether it's today or whether we have to, plan another meeting. But I honestly don't, it's not even as, looking through it, it's, from my opinion, I'm sure other people will have different opinions, but I don't see much that even looks super controversial. I know one issue that was raised, and John, I'd love to hear your feedback on this, was we had talked about working with Shopsy and affordable housing component downtown. And I know that when we had our joint meeting, it came up kind of briefly, and Judy raised a concern that might add a level of complexity to it, which might just make it, we want to be careful. We want whatever we want it to pass. And in some ways, I think we're all a little bit fearful that, adding more stuff to it is just going to add more points of contention or more things to, squabble about, and that, simple is best. And I think that shows up in two areas. One is going to be the affordable housing component, but I think, Tom Biscool, he raised some really, really good points. I've actually been meaning to follow up with him in our joint meeting about, things that might be helpful in getting more affordable housing downtown that would potentially work with the zoning bylaw. And there is a section where it's addressed in the zoning bylaw. It's on page 4 of Judy's draft. So I would definitely love to hear more from Shopsy on that. And John, I know that you met with Shopsy yesterday, so I'd love to hear your input on that. The one other open item that is that we need to talk about is the actual district boundary lines. And there's some issues there because some of the current boundary lines actually divide through property. We talked about adding a little bit more, changing the district boundary lines a little bit to, for example, include Newton Street or other properties. So a couple things on that could be the piece that potentially gets dicey, but I think it's important. And Judy and I discussed whether it was worthwhile to put that in now, to make that change now, or to make that change in the future. My thought was, and I know we discussed that at our last meeting too, and we agreed that it was worth it to try to make that happen now. But I think a couple things we need to keep in mind. We need to be careful. We need to get on the same page with what those properties are, and then we need to be in touch with those property owners to make sure that they know that we're that this is up for consideration. Again, it would not change any existing use at all. Anything that is there that is residential would be residential. The only thing that it would do would be give an option in the future potentially to use the property for commercial use or residential. It wouldn't change its residential use. So it could be something that's beneficial as far as property values, if nothing else, for the current owners. But I don't want us to be in a position where somebody, we designate these parcels on a map and somebody sees on my Southborough their street address or something and gets riled up, which would be fair. I would too, especially not understanding what that could mean for them. So I think we need to be really proactive in that regard if we are going to try to change the boundary lines, to make sure that people understand what that means for them, and that we're not doing something that goes against that's gonna, again, we want this to pass. That's first priority. We want a bill that works, but we also want something that accomplishes what what our goal is to accomplish. So I think we can do that, but I think we just need to be transparent and also communicative with the property owners that this could affect. So that's all I have.
Should we speak to them before we even talk about that? Have we identified the property that we think we want to include yet? And if so, have we talked to these people in the past? Should we talk to them sooner than later? And who's going to, if we do?
Those are all really good questions. And I know back a while ago, we talked about Newton Street. We talked, there are a few parcels that we did talk about, and I need to dig that information up. And last week my systems were down and I'm still sort of recreating, trying to find all my old files. So, and I just haven't had time in the last few days to dig into it, but if anybody else has that information readily available and wants to share it, that'd be great. But those are all really good questions. And yeah, we do need to be proactive, and we do need to figure out who is going to be reaching out to those property owners. Yes, those are all questions. If anyone wants to volunteer, let me know.
Yeah, I recall that Kathy Bartolini made a lot of personal one-on-one visits with some
You're right.
property owners.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. Yeah. So
She'd
maybe
be a good person to connect with.
reach out to her and see where things kind of left off.
Sorry about that. My dogs just came flying into my living room, around a gate. So I apologize for that.
I want to thank Julie, Claire, and Marika for all the hard work they've done, because here we're in the process of passing the baton onto the Board of Selectmen team led by Lisa and its chairman. And a lot of work has been done. It's been exceptional. And I think also sending out our work to all the committees so they're on board and feel they are part of this experience. This is really going to be a highlight for the town as we come together to dress up the downtown that has been wanting for so long. And I think the groundwork has been done, and I applaud, we all applaud what you've been up to and doing. And the task remains, but I know we're going to enable this to happen. So thank you.
So I know Claire wants to, as the hard stop too, and I know you said that she'd like to speak. So Claire, do you want to add anything to that?
Thanks, John. Yeah, just real quick. Actually, I had my hand raised before Julie came in. Once she came in, I said, oh, okay, all set. A couple things. I just put in a note. I did speak to Paul Sabelli about those split lots, which are along Ladasquama. Those are all residential lots. I think those were the ones that Mimi was referring to, that some of the lots are not in the district. I asked him how that actually happened to be. He doesn't know, but I think somebody who has been on zoning for like a long time, almost like, I mean, in addition to Don Morris, it would be somebody like Arthur Holmes or some of those people that worked with the assessors might know how that came to be. So just as a suggestion, I think you ought to talk to him first. So, and then the only other thing is, and maybe this will get mentioned, I started on the grid for comments, and I sent it out. I actually just sent it out this morning, just as a sample of how I see it kind of looking out. There were a couple directions I felt that were missing. Maybe it's because of the programmer in me. Everything has to be line by line. So if Julie and you guys think that's a help, it's something that I would also recommend sending out to the other boards. It just gives more direction in terms of the comments. I put Julie's initials on there. Sorry, Julie. I just didn't, you know, my opinion doesn't count. So feel free to change. That's it.
Sorry, where'd you put your initials, Claire? I didn't.
No, what I had initially done is, and the way I see this happening, and folks, I think that, I mean, I understand the matrix, but if you look at the initial matrix as she sent it out, it needs a little bit more definition. So what I did was I put together a sample. It's actually based on a quick 5-10 minute review that I did of the zoning that Judy sent out. And in 5 minutes, I found 3 things that I had questions on. So the moral of the story is that people need to know that there should be one of these sheets for each individual committee. And then it would be very helpful if each individual committee member, when they make a note for clarification purposes, put in that their name or their initials or something. And then if somebody then later on has a question, they can go back and they can say, well, Chris Robbins from EDC said, I don't know why this is included in here or why it isn't included. Get it? As soon as you take a look at it, it's clear as day.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah, thank you, Claire. Yeah, so basically you just added, you want to make sure that whoever made the comment is noted so that if there's questions,
Well, the other thing too is she only had one column on there, which was a reference. And the way her document came to us, she has it like in parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, which is okay, but you actually need to reference the section number. The other thing that I added in there was an attachment for things that are really too big to put into that table grid that she put together. And the reason that I did is for those of us who were around the ZAC, at the ZAC time, the big argument that everybody had is what's currently in it and what's changed. So if you look at the second page to what I sent out, I think it's the second page, I actually put like an attachment, and I have what was originally in the zoning and then what Judy is recommended. If she doesn't do that, this whole thing will go right down the tubes for those of us who remember from the ZAC. That's all I have to say.
Well, I think in her draft though, Claire, that the addition, the added language is italicized.
In one part, that was just as far as I got, Julie. But there's like all of those uses, etc. I mean, if you, if you don't think it's worthwhile, it's your call, guys.
So, so you're saying,
and you and I can discuss this, later on if there's going to be another meeting on that. If you guys are trying to stick to an hour meeting, this is much longer than an hour meeting. That's
so maybe you and I and Lisa can set up a call at some point.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
I want to have a dedicated meeting just to this next week, Claire. I got it late yesterday. And
Yeah,
by the time I really started looking at it, it was like 10 or 10:30, 11 o'clock last night. So this is such an important thing. I want to do it later on.
It is going to be an extremely time consuming thing to comb through everything. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a wonderful idea. And I think that Julie's idea about the three of us meeting before the EDC meeting, and really in order to put together some kind of guidance to the committee heads who are going to be handing this out to their individual committees. One other just very, very quick thing. It was very obvious yesterday at the SHOPSI meeting that some people do not have a comprehension that the downtown business village area that we're talking about is 15 acres, of which more than half of it is already residential or business, whatever. I was shocked to hear, but I was glad he said it, that if you're thinking of putting 30 to 40 housing units down there, then yes, you do need a component of affordable housing. For the life of me, I can't figure out where 30 or 40 units would go in the downtown area. That's maybe just something that needs to be clarified. People might be thinking of this as a much bigger project than it really has the capability of being. And that's a topic for another meeting. However, the point is that people need to have a clear clarification of what is the area that we are talking about.
Yeah, everybody seems to think it's a much larger scale project than it actually is.
Yeah.
And I've tried to explain that to people, but yeah, absolutely. There's people that think that we could have something like a Madison Place or some whatever it's called down there, and there's just not space for that. So we really definitely.
And that's not what anybody wants. That was never part of our vision. That was never.
It just couldn't happen. It wouldn't fit. So I think we just need to really let people know maybe we need to figure out how to define it better or make it look like it's a small scale or when we present it or something. But that's a very valid point, Claire. Because
Yeah,
there isn't.
Yeah, and nobody's talking about adding residential solely. We're talking about adding mixed use, which means you could go up a story or two and have some residential units over retail space.
We
So
all know that here on the EDC. Other people don't.
Yeah.
For those of us who eat, sleep, and drink this stuff, we know it.
Yeah, but the numbers are in the draft that
But
Judy
people don't,
showed.
Mike, people don't read.
No, I got it, but I mean, we can explain it and we can try and.
But
punch
we
the numbers
need
and
to.
say, look,
Absolutely.
we can get up to, you can have up to 8 units. If you have 8 units, you have to have one's got to be affordable. So
I know some people, like in the past, I've talked to people where they thought, like when we were talking about a 15,000 square foot building, now that's total inside, not footprint. So they were thinking that if this is 3 stories, next thing you know, you got a 45,000 square foot building instead of a 15,000 overall square foot building. And a 15,000 square foot building, just so you know, is where Santana Bank used to be, that with the dentist office and all that thing is. That's 15,000 square feet. So when we talk, a 15,000 square foot building, I think people need to know that's pretty much the max. We're thinking the reason we had that number in there before is because that fit that bill. I think that building might even be a little bit bigger than that. It's give or take, but that's the scale, the max scale that we were talking about. And I think once people grasp that, it's already what's there. Not that we're trying to add that any place. It was more for that place. I think
that's a good
that'll be
point.
helpful.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking that they're going to get a 15,000 square foot base and then can go up 3 stories, which, you know what I mean? And then you have all this space. So I think that's something we just need to communicate a little better. But again, that's all for another discussion. So
That's a good point.
So anyway, does anybody have anything else they want to talk about this draft? Or do you, I'd prefer to really delve into it myself for maybe some light reading over the weekend and stuff and have a meeting next week about it. Is everybody in agreement with that? Does anybody want to talk more about it now?
So I think it's great. I mean, I think it's a great start.
Yeah.
Or completion of where we're.
Yeah. Has anybody else besides had time to really take a look at it? Susan, have you or Susan?
No, I just opened it
my
this
wife
morning.
was Susan. Yeah. How about you, Michael?
I just cruise through it as quickly as I
Yeah.
could.
So, okay. So yeah, I'd like everybody to have a pretty decent knowledge of it when we talk about it next week, if that's okay. Julie, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering if there was anything from anyone's quick scan that jumped out at them as something that was either surprising or, they see as a red flag from their perspective or anything like that. I'm just curious.
I didn't. I mean, I read it a couple of times and I didn't see anything really, a couple of typos, but that's about it. But I thought there was nothing. I didn't see anything that stood out, like you said, as controversial but I'm sure other people may, so I'll be curious to see what the other, yesterday, Tom, at our SHOPSy meeting, Tom had brought up the affordable aspect and said it really, after we hadn't seen it yet, the document hadn't been sent out. He was saying that he was a little disappointed after the joint meeting. That sounded like that affordable housing wasn't part of it. And it was nice that it was actually, once Lisa was at our meeting yesterday and she actually read the part about the affordable housing, which, I told them, I was like, actually you're wrong. I said, the EDC Act absolutely supports affordable housing aspect of this. At least that's how I interpret it from our past meetings. And he said, well, that's good to hear. And then when he heard about that, he was actually in the audience for a little bit earlier. And I think you covered it when you were speaking earlier.
Okay.
So I know we'll get some more input from them eventually and maybe have a joint meeting and all that. So
Yeah, no, I've actually been meaning to follow up with Tom because I was really, impressed and informed by a lot of what he said during the joint meeting. So I wanted to learn more about that.
yeah, he's a sharp guy and he has some great ideas with the 40Rs and the 40Bs and a lot of different things. So anyway, anything else on that, Chris?
I'm all set.
Michael?
Yeah, and I don't want to get into the weeds now. Maybe it's next week. But as far as the affordable housing, as I'm reading this, I think that any development with residential would only be required to have an affordable housing unit if they build 8 units,
Right.
And that's the max, right? So it's, you know, somewhere we got to be prepared. We're supporting residential unit or affordable units, but if everybody comes in and builds a 7-unit building, none of this is going to have affordable housing. So
that's a good point, Mike. And it's actually something I was thinking about too. Like, you know, would we, you know, I assume we can put the ratio, whatever, like we can make the ratio, because I think 8-1, I think that's about, and I know very, very little about this stuff, but I think that's like what triggers, you know, some of this 40B or whatever the code is, right?
Once you build 8 units, then I think it becomes a percentage of.
As a town, I assume we could make that a lower ratio, right? Like
we could crank it up so that we're requiring more. So
yeah,
you know, and I guess that's for us to understand and dictate.
Yeah.
Look, if somebody builds 4 units, do we want one of those to be affordable?
right.
Is that going to scare off a developer because they're going to say, well, I can't build this with just three incomes,
exactly.
you know? So I think it's just something for us to consider here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting. And if there's, yeah, and I think we hit all the points for that, and definitely, you know, Shopsy's the expert on it, but yeah, whether that ratio, just that 8-1 makes it that but everyone's going to build max 7, which doesn't help us, or, you know, also the other side of it, you know, if we make it 4-1, does that mean no developer is going to come in and do it, because now it's cost prohibitive for developers. Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely need some guidance from Shopsy on that and how to make it find that right piece for the right position.
But it's just all this weird little window that we're making. We're saying in here there's a max of 8, and if you build 8, then you got to do a affordable housing, but then you can't build any more than 8. You know,
right. And is there even a place where we could, like, you know, is there even a place downtown where we could even do 8? Like, I don't even know, you know, unless you're, you know, completely redoing that Santander lot and adding, you know, 2 stories above it, then maybe, but, you know, like looking at, for example, like the 2 Main Street project that Peter Bemis was trying to do when he originally wanted units, he was going to have 4 units above it. You know, so I'm sure more than that wouldn't have been able to fit on that lot. So, you know, we'd have to see whether 8's even like at all feasible there, or maybe, you know, if we are able to expand the borders like down Newton Street, that might be a good place to have there might be an opportunity on Newton Street for something like that. We just don't know.
And I'm way out of my league on this one. Is there any way that we can incentivize to add more, you know?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. And I remember when Tom was talking about this at the joint meeting, I think and again, I'm not well versed on this. I need to learn a little bit more. But it sounds like, you know, there's some incentives for developers for doing some affordable housing components. So maybe there is a way, maybe there's some funding that's available, or some, you know, financial incentives that are available that make it, you know, justifiable for them cost-wise to do that kind of stuff. Other than that, I'm good. So Claire, I'll touch base with you. I know you have to run, if you're still here even.
She's gone.
And we'll set up a meeting with Lisa.
John, you're muted. Claire's gone and John's muted.
Okay.
My dogs keep barking. I'm sorry. I have a contractor here working, and it's one of those days. All right. So that's it for the downtown update on that. Thank you guys for that. So next thing on the agenda, I just want to talk about real quick the EDC budget for this year. Last year, I have it right here. Last year, our budget was 41,463. The only thing I really want to change on that is Marika's raise this year, which I think increases the overall budget, but I haven't done the actual numbers. The overall budget by like, I think it's under 2% with that. And then again, the big thing is that I want to keep on it. I think we managed very well with what we had last year, and we should be giving money back. I just want the contracted service money there for to go after grants like we've been doing, and the potential for that. So, and what's nice about that is if we go after a grant, we use the contracted service money and we get the grant, we get that money back as administration fees, so that way it can go back. But that's my thing on the budget. I'll send it out and we can talk about it more. You know, I'll send out the actual budget for our next meeting next week. But does anybody have any problems or concerns with what we had or used this year? I think we're going to be turning back about $6,000 again, roughly, give or take. I could be wrong. So I'd like to keep that, and the only increase that I recommend is the salary line of the SAP amount. So I will put that together and get that out for next week, and then, you know, we'll see what advisory and the selectmen say about that afterwards, and we can go from there. But that, I think, is a good starting point. You know, it's been a rough year for everybody all around, including the town. I'm sure revenue is going to be down. We had a tight budget last year. I think this year is going to be even scarier. So hopefully they'll even agree with what we have. So we'll go on that. The other thing I just wanted to touch base on is the grant for the shared spaces and streets. We found some other, I found tents about $600 cheaper and in stock than the other ones. So there were 3,900 this time, I think, give or take. I don't have it in front of me. But I know we voted on to a maximum of 4,500. I actually found them cheaper and in stock. So we're going to order 2 of those. I thought I had pricing. We're going to order 2 20 by 40s and then 1 10 by 20 for Red Barn, which is New York Bagel or whatever it's going to be, New England Bagel. They want that. So we'll be under budget on that. So my question is, so we don't have to keep meeting and voting on these. Like, we're going to buy we were budgeted for 4 tents at $16,180. We're budgeted for 4 heaters at $550 each for $2,200. More people need heaters than they do tents. So I'm trying to find, so our breakdown of items comes out to $24,500 available. I'm trying to figure out how Marika went out and found planters yesterday that we're going to get for downtown. How can we vote on this so we don't have to keep coming back and voting on each item? Because the grant allows us to like get only 3 tents, but more heaters and things like that. So we can bounce things around. Is there a way that anybody can think of that we could, vote up to a max of for something, or keep it in the scope? Any thoughts on that? I'm reaching out to the attendees. I'm hoping it's Sam. It is. I'm hoping, Sam, if you have a thought on how we can do this, because it's kind of a pain. As fast as I'm finding some of these items or vendors that have some of these items, by the time I call them back, they're gone. So I don't want to have to be able to come back and get a vote. If I can find 6 heaters, I don't want to have to come back and say, hey, I need a quick vote. So does anybody have a thought on how that could possibly be done? And again, Sam, I'm looking at you.
I don't have a solution to it necessarily, but
It's a procedural thing. I just want to make sure that we're doing it
you might
correctly.
check with Mark on that, protocols for spending money.
Well,
how many restaurants are you going to use this equipment? Do you have?
3 so far. Oh,
You mean the?
Ola,
You said
Tommaso's wants the big 20 by 40 tents.
Okay.
And then the 10 by 20 is the Red Barn on Route 9.
It's New York Bagel Factory.
New York Bagel, thank you.
I just want to comment about this and the great effort Marika did to get this grant, because what's interesting, I was just on a Zoom call with Framingham State, which has the Metro West Economic Research Center, which did a report for us a few years ago. And the largest employers in the Metro West are the restaurants, and they've been hit the hardest. And it's impressive that Southborough's taken the lead to get grants to impact in a positive way the largest employers, one of the larger employers in businesses in our community, which are the restaurants or eateries, if you will. So that's a big plus, that we've taken a very focused approach to dealing with where the pain is in many ways the greatest. The other high mark of the morning discussion from Framingham State this morning is that the healthcare industry is taking a big boom up in terms of employment. And we have healthcare related companies here in this town, like Reliant down the street in Newton. So this is information that is helpful for making these kind of decisions, which the EDC is responding to. So I'd say, well done.
All right, so Sam actually commented, thank you, Sam, saying check with the town accountant. But what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to make a motion for something and vote on it, and then I'll check with the town accountant. That way, if it's okay that what we did, it's already in place and we can do it. So I'm gonna make a motion that we allow the EDC to purchase tents up to a total of $16,180, which is what the grant allotted, as well as 4 outdoor heaters at $550 each to $2,200, 2 picnic tables at $1,250 each for a total of $2,500, 2 umbrellas at $170 each for a total of $340, 2 bike racks at $210 each, $420, and 4 planters at $670 each for a total of $2,680 for a grand total with $180 for unforeseen for a grand total of $24,500. If we can, and with the savings of buying 3 tents to increase the amount of heaters as needed. So that's my motion. Do I have a second? And I'll find out if that's okay later.
Yeah, done. Second, I think that's great.
Okay, any discussion?
I think that's a nice thing to add to our list of accomplishments that can help the businesses. And
Well, let's get it accomplished first. This has been all encompassing for me for a week, trying to reach it as soon as I find it, they're gone. It's crazy, especially the tents and the heaters. The tents were like 5 weeks out. So I'm gonna do it as a roll call vote. Any other discussion? All right, I'm gonna just do it as I see it. Chris?
All set.
Suzanne?
Yep.
Julie?
yes.
Michael? And myself, aye. So it passes unanimously. I'll check to make sure that that's okay how we did it. And if not, I guess I'll have to schedule a 2-minute meeting for the heaters. But I think we should be okay. So that was it on that. EDC member responsibilities, we'll take care of that another meeting. Hopefully you guys have looked at it and seen if anything that interests you that you might have time to help, even if it's an hour a week on the outside. We got a lot going. I know everybody does. So, and then leave that. Anybody have anything else to talk about on the EDC responsibilities? We're wrapping up quickly here, folks. Update on other boards or committees. I had Shopsy yesterday. You guys heard Julie talk about their concern, which was just that it wasn't on there. We spoke a little bit about that. Julie touched on it. Tom is going to be there. I think overall that they had some good questions, and I think that they're supportive of it if we can have the affordable housing aspect in there some way. Recap on the selectmen when we were there. And that's pretty much all I have for updates on any of the boards and committees. Does anybody else have any meetings or anything that they attended? Want to talk about? No? Okay. Next up, Marika, the coordinator with the EDC newsletter. Marika?
Hi.
Hey, there she is. Good morning, Marika.
Yeah, I sent out the newsletter. I did receive some additional comments from Chris, which was very helpful, just to make sure we, thank, or at least thank people who worked on certain projects. We don't forget about that. So I just wanted to, vote on it so I can send it out on Monday to everyone. If anyone had any other comments or remarks.
I thought you did a great job on it, Marika. I liked it.
Thank you.
Did you change the 4th of July thing though?
Sorry?
Did you had the 4th of July fireworks?
Yes, because it's summer nights, I guess. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
That was my only thing. Other than that, I thought it was a great thing. And I think that newsletter you send out is instrumental. It's funny, other boards and committee actually reach out to me and say, hey, this is going on, how they can do it, get into it, or if they have thoughts. And I've seen other people do it. I just think it's a great start for collaboration between the boards and committees. So thank you so much for sending that out. I love it.
John, I want to second that, triple that statement. Educating our fellow committees is critical because most people are relatively new compared to other committees. And Marika's newsletter, I think, brings great value to the mission we're fulfilling here.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chris.
I do. I think we're on the right track. I think our approval rating is getting a little bit better than we used to be with other boards and committees, and hopefully around town. I think I know we're trying, but I again, the other thing I think is huge, and I've been saying, is I think there's the Zoom meetings that it's recorded and nobody can say we didn't do this or that we did do that or say this or that, but good or bad. I hope they keep the Zoom meetings going because, or if we can get Sam to, once we're actually in person again, get them televised. I think that we should keep these going because I think it's been educational to the public as well. So anyway. So on the EDC newsletter, do I have a motion to accept it as written for publication? Anybody? Okay, get a motion by Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Suzanne. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, roll call vote as I see him again. Chris?
All set, yes.
Suzanne?
Yep.
Julie?
Yes.
Michael? And myself, aye. So pass unanimously. Anything else on that, Marika, you want to talk about anything?
No, I think that's all for now. Yeah.
And Marika found, oh, good thing, Marika found planters. So we've got something. We're this is brutal.
I found planters. I need a truck now, and I need plants. Yeah, all good, all fun stuff.
Where are the planters? Where are the planters going to go?
Downtown. So there's not a lot of space. So we chose some rectangular long planters that can go outside of House of Pizza, Knights of Columbus.
Oh, perfect.
Fill them up. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I just want to say Marika is on the in the garden club.
Garden Club, yes, member.
And that's where she was able to get funding for this, as I understand it.
No, this is part of the same shared streets and spaces grant program. But when the Garden Club heard that we are putting planters out, so they said they would love to be involved. So I'm hoping probably by, I guess, in the spring, because we need some plants and they need to be maintained. So I'm hoping they can take on that project. So
and if we could try to do native plants, I think that would be appreciated by conservation.
Yes. All right.
It's that kind of collaboration that makes all the difference of our going forward. So it's a great move.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can. Is there a bike committee yet? Maybe they can do the bike tracks.
Well, maybe. I don't know if that's something that Trails may be interested in. So
yeah, maybe. I'll ask them. Yeah.
I went to the store last night to buy a tube for my bicycle. Totally changing the subject here. I actually bought a whole bicycle, brand new, for $21.
Were they available? Where did you go? Because I was trying to find the summer.
I was at Walmart and I needed a tube for my bike, and I thought it was a misprint. It said $21, regularly like $200. I was like, so I brought it up and like, yeah, $21. You're welcome to borrow this bike. I have my own bicycle, but this one, it's just a little beach cruiser, but $21. How can you go wrong? Such a bargain. Sorry. I go back to business now. All right. Anything else on the newsletter? No? Okay.
Did you end up going to the Trails meeting, John?
No, I got stuck in work and I was unable to. But somebody on Trails is coming over to my house tonight. So we'll be talking about where they wound up on that. And I do know, I definitely want to meet with them in the future though, because They're doing a great job. I don't know if anybody here uses the trails or walks their dogs down them or just goes around. They've done an amazing, amazing job. And I like everything that they're trying to do for the connectivity for downtown and the rest of the town. So again, everything goes hand in hand with these committees and boards and stuff. So if we can, that's why for the goals next year, I really wish if anybody has, an interest in another committee or friend on another committee that they think, is doing a good job or things that could work with us and we could work with them, please reach out to me. Let me know. Cause I really think once we get downtown done and connected, I think it's gonna be awesome. I think we could have a really vibrant downtown again. So anyway, so no is the long answer to that. Truly, I did not. Anything else on that? Our last thing, housekeeping then, approval of minutes from September 9th. I'm sorry, September 11th and 14th. And I haven't, that's all we have right now, right?
Sorry, no, just to approve the minutes of the September meetings.
Yes.
I just received the October minutes, but it was too late to send it out to the committee. So that will come next meeting. So September 9th and September 11th.
We had meetings 2 days apart from each other. Are those dates right?
Yeah, I don't know. Are they done? Can't imagine, but who knows? Let me just check. What about
11th and 24th?
24th.
Yeah, so, yeah, September 11th and September 24th. Is that correct? Is that what you have, Michael?
That's what the meeting minutes are.
Yeah.
Right. Correction. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got too. So, all right. Do I have a motion to accept as written, or does anybody have anything to add or say on them?
Yeah, the only thing I think I'll give feedback is that Taylor should sign it with her name, that we know who submits the minutes. And I guess the other thing is that she needs to mention that whenever votes are taken by roll call, that to actually put it in there. But otherwise, I think that's my comment that I will pass on to her.
So you want to have her amend that and then send it back, and we'll vote on it with your change once it comes back? Or do you want us to approve it with her putting in the roll call vote?
Yeah, I think approve it and then she can put in the roll call vote.
Okay. So do I have a motion to accept the amended minutes with the roll call vote added?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Julie. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor by roll call vote, which Taylor is going to make that was a roll call vote when you listen to Taylor. All right, Chris.
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yep.
Julie.
Yes.
Michael. And myself, John Wood. Aye. Passes unanimously. Any unfinished business? I don't believe so. Moving on quickly. Public comment, Sam. Anything you want to say or raise your hand, or if you're good? I think nothing from Mr. Sars. I don't see his hand up, so I believe that is it. Do I have a motion to adjourn? God bless you.
Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn by Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Julie. Roll call vote to Mr. Robbins.
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Michael. And me. Aye. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate.
John,
Yes.
sorry, I just want to say before everyone leaves, should I set up a meeting for, how about, I'll try next Thursday evening?
Yeah.
Is that the best day for everyone? To kind of discuss the what we spoke about, the zoning article.
Thursday evenings are kind of tough for me because we have like multiple kid stuff going on Thursday evenings. Is it possible to, like, are mornings bad for people?
Mornings are tough.
I'll make it, I'll defer to you guys with kids in school.
Or
Whatever.
like a day other than Thursday?
What works for you, Suzanne?
Like, what about like Wednesday night?
I could do that.
Like
could do
after
that.
7?
Yeah, because,
Bedtime.
but,
Sorry,
but
bedtime is just a
I totally get it. I know.
if we do it after 7 and our next meeting, it's going to be a long meeting because we're going to be talking about this. So as long as you can commit to an hour or 2,
Yep.
just to be, I don't think it'll go 2 hours, but just in case, I just want to make sure that everybody's committed to that type of a meeting because, this is a big deal. It's a zoning law.
Yeah.
That we'll be talking about. So I'm okay.
7's better.
Good.
I could do that. So Michael, does that work for you? If
Yep.
a 7 o'clock meeting on Wednesday?
Can we check and make sure that Rob would be available? Because I would really love his input on this. I think he's like,
Rob has a hard
That's-
time with Wednesday night meetings,
Yes,
if I remember
I was going to
correctly.
say, that's why I think we had initially scheduled like Thursday evenings, because I know, Suzanne, you had, Wednesdays were not good for Rob and Fridays were, difficult for others.
I can do Thursdays again, as long as it's later. Like Thursday for me would have to be at like 8 o'clock.
What about Tuesday? Would Tuesday night
I'm
work?
good.
Would that work for you, Suzanne? Would that work for you, Julie?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, like a 7 o'clock also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, would that work? I think that will work. That way we can try to, I agree. I'd like to have Rob there as well, if possible. Because I
Yes.
appreciate
Why
it.
don't- Let's check and make sure. Are people okay with like maybe as a first choice Tuesday at 7, as a second choice Thursday at 8? Just to
Sure.
make sure Rob's available.
Yeah, and I want to say Tuesday 7 will be hard because I have to post it today.
Oh, yeah. Forgot
Um,
about that. Friday.
So I just remembered.
About 8 o'clock.
Maybe see if you can get a response if we can get an answer on Rob today.
Could you text him, Marika?
Sorry, if I can check in. Yeah, see if he can do Wednesday, I guess.
No,
Me,
Tuesday.
Rob? Sorry, I didn't get that.
I think he can't, he said Wednesday's usually bad for him, so assuming
Yeah.
he can't do Wednesday, our first choice would be Tuesday.
Okay.
If he can do Wednesday, great, but it sounds like that's not normally good for him.
So you want to check with Rob and then post it? I mean, I can post it anyway, and then we can see.
Yeah, I mean, see if you can get a quick response from him. Maybe he's checking his phone.
Yeah, post it.
Yeah. So Tuesday at 7, and the other date would be what is the alternative? Thursday
Tuesday,
At 8.
at 8. Okay, I'll check in with him.
And hopefully there'll be availability for meetings at those times.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So, perfect.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Marika, I will give you a call shortly because we can use my truck to get that whenever you want to. As
Yeah.
long as they don't weigh like 10 million pounds that I'm going to be.
No, they're very light. They're just very big.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you guys. And we'll see you guys next week sometime. And if you get a chance, please take an in-depth look at that draft. And thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful weekend.